Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another match preview. Manchester City versus Arsenal, the big one, if you can really call it a big one. Man City take on one of the most expensive Burnleys I've ever seen in my life to get a dig in straight away. But I'll try and keep it civil. I'll try and tone it down and tone down the slander for this one. But I'm not particularly looking forward to this type of match as much as I should be, given the fact that it is first versus second for the last two seasons. I should be really up for this one. I'm used to being excited for these big games, but it's very difficult with what potentially and most likely will be the theme of the game. It's very hard to look forward to it. But look, I'll run through my thoughts in a moment. If you do me a massive favour, and please leave a like on this video, it'll be massively appreciated, and subscribe if you are new on the road to 10k. But let's just go. Let's discuss this game. Again, I'm not looking forward to it because Arsenal, if you cast your minds back to last season when they came to the Etihad, it was possibly, now I don't pretend to remember every single game that we've ever played at home, but Arsenal at home last season is potentially the most defensive side that I have ever seen. In my opinion, it's the most defensive side I have ever seen us play against. And the fact of the matter is even given Pep's press conference quote, so the first half of his press conference is he's expecting it, I'm expecting it, you're probably expecting it. It's going to be the same as it was last season. Arsenal are going to come and do the same thing that they did last season, which is every man behind the ball, hope they get a corner or a set piece or a counter attack and take it, and smash and grab settings essentially. Which, on the one hand, I can't fault them from doing, because it's probably one of the only ways and probably the best way, at least at this moment in time, to really get something out of an away day. Of course, if it was the other way around and at the Emirates, I'd expect something, a little bit different in terms of, the best way to go about it, because, we'd be the away team, but we're not with the home team. And Brentford, if they had better players, they would have done something. Inter, they did have better players. They didn't win the game. And they could have lost. We could have won that game, but we didn't, play particularly well against Inter. And, you'd say that Inter played, at least defensively very well. Or really well. Not very well, really well. Like almost perfect defensively. A couple chances here and there. But, for the most part, considering, the team that we are, just how good we are, Inter's game plan was near perfection. So, Brentford did it, almost done, got what they wanted. But of course, just in terms of individual quality, just not there to actually go in and take the game. Inter with the more, quality in the squad, they managed to get something from the game. Arsenal, again, another side that has quality players and can do what Inter did. As long as, they all play up to how they have been playing, or Arsenal fans will tell you, how good they are and all that shit, right? So I am expecting similar things to the Inter Milan game. I'm expecting a very similar game to last season. We all remember last season, the 6-4 formation, or the 6-2-2, however you want to call it, a back six, with the back four and the two wingers essentially playing as fullbacks defensively, the back six. It's probably the most defensive side that I've ever seen play against us. Again, I'm not asking Arsenal to come and do what they did a couple of years ago and try and play and be on the end of an absolute battering. But I think, you can't give it all this chest about how good you are and come pack the bus against the team that you want to beat for the title. And then when you miss out at the end of the season, go, oh, we deserved it more. And, how can we compete? You can compete by beating us and coming and putting it to us. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool would never ever. That's why I have them two teams far apart on, my perception of how good they were. Because Jurgen Klopp never packed the bus. He won't pack the bus. He'd always go for it. Even if his team was shit, still go for it. And he'd get battered, which you could say is naive. But those games are always classics, and this one is turning into a just slog. essentially. So that's kind of where I sit with the game. I'm not looking forward to it because, I mean, it's an expensive Stoke City. Like, in their last 3 games, I think they have 1 open play goal, a 0-0, and a goal from a corner. I watched them play against Atalanta and Tottenham. They weren't great against Tottenham, but they squeaked it because Tottenham are Tottenham. And they were terrible against Atalanta. They barely laid a glove on Atalanta. Barely did anything. I think, I watched various Arsenal breakdowns of that game. So Lee Gunner, and he was saying that they didn't have a shot on target past the 18th minute, and that does not win you a game of football. Essentially, what this game on Sunday boils down to is, can they get a corner and score from it? In my mind, can they get a corner or a counter attack and score from it? They're only going to get a couple of chances. Can they make anything happen? They have the quality to be able to do it, but it's not a sustainable model in terms of winning games and winning league titles, especially. You can't do that. You've got to actually, go to tough places and get wins and put in performances and actually go to win games rather than damage limitation. I think Arsenal right now would probably accept a draw. They did last season and it cost them. Would they accept a draw now with, how early on it is in the season, given the fact that they are currently behind us? Yeah, they'd accept a draw. I reckon they would. I don't want a draw. But I reckon Arsenal, if they were to get a draw, wouldn't be too disappointed. So that's where I sit on the game. It's not going to be a fun one. I can guarantee you that. It's not going to be a good game to watch. Just because of how tactical and how tight it's just going to be. It's not going to be very entertaining, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Something could happen. But I really just don't see it with the approach now in terms of the way that we're going to go about this. Pep's done first half of his press conference. Couple of bombs in there. Said Foden's ready to play 90 minutes, so I expect him to start. Otherwise, I wouldn't have expected Pep to have said something like that, because he was asked 5 minutes against Inter. There was a tactical change there. Bit of an injury change as well with Kevin De Bruyne, who I'll get onto shortly, but Phil Foden ready to play 90 minutes. So again, I expect him to start, and Kevin De Bruyne has not actually been ruled out. We heard, I think it was a day ago, 2 days ago now, depending on when I'm actually putting this video out, that, he was going to be unavailable for the Arsenal game. But he wasn't going to be, unavailable for a long time. It wasn't a long-term concern, but, he wasn't going to make the Arsenal game. Now Pep has said, I don't know how true this is, because Pep has a tendency to bullshit in his press conferences and, not give away any, secrets or ideas to managers with quotes and kind of leave things up in the air. But he has said that he's not ruled out, and, he's still off it. If the game was tomorrow, he wouldn't be playing, essentially, is what I gathered from it. If the game was on Saturday, he wouldn't be playing. But, he's got an extra day to rest, and then train again on the Saturday, and then he'll find out. So he's not been completely ruled out, but I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't risk him. I think that you need to manage his minutes. I don't think it was the best idea to play him as much as we have done already. Pretty sure he's played every single game. And I really don't think there's any need to start him or to him to play, big minutes here. You can give him a week off, because you don't even have to play him on Tuesday against Watford. I wouldn't play him there either, and then he's got a week off. And then we're back at it. So that's kind of where we lie with the squad. Everyone else, perfectly fine, as per usual. Nothing else has happened unless something comes out tomorrow. But in terms of predicted 11, real quick, I'm going to change it up. Normally, I do a predicted 11. Like, normally I come on and try and guess what Pep's going to do, but I'm going to change it up. As you can see, it's a little bit all over the place. Essentially, I've done this because I like to switch it up. I wanted to do kind of what I would want to see rather than a predicted 11, because the last 2 times I've done a predicted 11, I've really struggled to, pick players and nail down players, because we've had pretty much everyone fit, and, any combination I can see. So it's been difficult to kind of nail down a predicted 11. So I've gone and kind of changed the mold a little bit. I've gone and decided that I'm going to come up with something that I would like to see, and I've got a few reasonings behind some of the selections. I think 2 players that are really unfortunate to miss out is Rico Lewis for 1, unbelievable start to the season, and Jack Grealish for 2. Last 2 games, probably been one of our better players. I think both of them are really unfortunate to miss out, but for me, I don't want to bore you with tactical talk, but it is literally just as simple as for me, it is tactical. I think I would be more than comfortable with having John Stones play like he did 2 seasons ago, for him to be the guy that steps into midfield instead of Rico Lewis, and to put Akanji in the back line, have the 4 centre backs, gives us more protection from those set pieces that I was talking about. In terms of, again, Arsenal's main threat they're probably looking at is counter attacks and being able to get, corners and free kicks, because they score a lot of set pieces again. They ain't getting the expensive Stoke City rep for nothing. A lot of goals from corners and things like that, and wide free kicks and deep free kicks and things like that. So having the extra height and the extra protection in there, given that Rico Lewis is only small and, he can be targeted from things like set pieces and, it leaves you a man shorter, having more options, because we like to mark zonal as well, is why it's, the simple reason as to why I'd go with that. You have Stones in there so you can still keep your extra player in midfield, but you have, the added aerial presence to try and limit Arsenal as much as you can, because they're not going to create bucket loads of chances. They're not, because they're going to play the way they did last year, which they didn't create bucket loads of chances there either. So limiting their already limited chance creation, it limits your chance of losing essentially, which is why I'd gone for that. And then in terms of the winger situation, Grealish will probably start, and I have no problem with that whatsoever, because he's been playing really, really well. But I'm just thinking about that Arsenal low block is what it's going to be, unless we score early and force them out. Arsenal they're going to park it. They are going to park it like most other teams. They're going to park it, make it difficult. And we struggled against Inter Milan. We struggled a little bit against Brentford, and I'm essentially just trying to think about how you can solve that issue with teams just throwing bodies in the way and having 2, 3, 4 players on Haaland, and you've got isolated areas on the wide positions, potential overloads. Being able to bring a midfielder out there, say number 10 Foden in this instance, being able to bring him out to either of the wide positions. You had De Bruyne doing it against Inter Milan, and he was a bit wasteful there. So, in my opinion, it's something that I think we should do on Sunday, is play with the 2 direct wingers, the 2, out-and-out game-changer wingers. I think with Grealish, obviously he's good for certain scenarios. It'd be good if this fixture was reversed, let's say, and we were away, because his main thing is control. But I have no issue with control whatsoever. I really don't have any issue with control, with the way that everybody is expecting Arsenal to go about and set up for this game. I have no issue with control against a low block. I don't think it's needed to put Grealish in there. I think he'd be unfortunate to miss out, and you could make a very good argument for him being in because he's played well. But to try and counteract a low defensive block, having these 2 on the wing would be a way to go about it, because they're going to run at their players. They're going to try and isolate the fullback. They're going to potentially drag 2 men on him and create a bit of space for someone else to go in, like a Foden, Kovacic, maybe Rodri if he gets further up, maybe John Stones if he gets further up. You never know if this is, the system we're going to play, and can be an avenue with creativity. I think that's more likely to bypass a low defensive block than having someone like a Grealish, even though Grealish is probably better at picking a pass and holding on to the ball. I just don't think the holding on to the ball and the whole control thing is needed in this sort of game. I really don't think it is. So that's what I'd go with. Again, it's kind of not really a predicted 11. It's more of I was kind of brainstorming. I was trying to get in the mind of Pep and trying to figure out a way that we can play against a low block. Because in the last 2 games we've struggled, and we need to think of something, because more teams are just going to do this throughout the course of the season. So I've been trying to brainstorm. Bluntly, I've been trying to figure out exactly what I want, and that's why I gone with the wingers, and then the defence is just for trying to limit Arsenal's threat from set pieces. Essentially, which, again, Rico Lewis, I have no issue with Rico Lewis players on Sunday. I really don't. I think it's, again, it's another harsh decision to drop him, but it's literally just for tactical reasons, in my opinion, if he does, because we know what Arsenal's main threat is. So, look, that's my predicted 11, or wanted 11, I suppose. In terms of my score prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. It's really that simple. I'm expecting such a similar game to last season that, listen, if we go out there and that game ends 0-0, I will not be surprised. I won't be happy. I'll more than likely, be a little bit sort of, it's becoming a problem that we can't break down low blocks. But I won't be surprised. I really won't be surprised if it ends 0-0 again. Or if it's a low scoring affair, I really won't. So look, I say 1-0. You let me know your score predictions down in the comment section below. In terms of, again, this game, I'm not looking forward to it. Maybe you can try and convince me that this is going to be a good game to watch. I don't know, you can try. But I doubt it. I think everybody's kind of going into this with the same thought process of Arsenal are well and truly just playing for a point, maybe, is the way you'd put it. Of course, they'll really want all three, but again, I think they'll be happy with a point. So look, those are my thoughts on the game. You leave yours down in the comment section below. If you do me a massive favour on your way out of this video, and please leave a like, it's massively appreciated, and subscribe if you are new. And I will see you post-match for a reaction to whatever the hell goes down.